Hey there, this is K Moon. Thank you so much for clicking in for the Twin Flame Divine Connection update for the Sag Gemini Eclipse Cycle. So much nicer to connect one on one via the private list, mainly because, so many of the things that I share on YouTube, I try to be mindful that sometimes not everyone's willing or ready to hear things. And I know if you've taken this extra step of being on the private list, there is some part of you that's pretty dedicated to understanding the truth of how things stand. And you're not just dropping by on YouTube to find something that validates what you want to hear, but instead you're trying to understand what may be going on so that you can work with it from the highest vibration possible. There were a few channeled messages that I got as I looked out at the astrology for divine masculine and divine feminine of the coming year. There's just some general overview energies that I figured I would share. Um, the first message that I got, and it came in actually a while ago, is that, and I've mentioned this on the channel, 2020 is a pre union year. It is one of the preparatory years that is providing the foundation clearing required for twins who are going to come into union to be able to do the clearing needed for that to occur. This includes a clearing in the arena of communication and the way that they're talking and speaking to one another. This also includes clearing in the way that they're holding their own boundaries, um, and mentally thinking about the journey. That being said, some of my clients have come to me and they've shared that, oh, my divine counterpart has come into a connection with someone else, and they've told me that they are going to have a child with that person, or that they would like to, um, marry that person, and that there's not really a place at this time for us to pursue any type of romantic partnership. As I mentioned in the general video for the Sag Gemini Eclipse Cycle, it is important to remember that when we're moving through a mutable season, sometimes we do get weather from the previous season as we step into the next season. And just because we have what appears on the surface to be a step back, it actually lays the foundation for multiple steps forward. I had a conversation with one of these clients not that long ago who she actually went through this a lot earlier than a lot more of most of my clients did. And her masculine told her, that he is having a baby with somebody else, and he needs to try and work it out with her because she's the child's mother. And at that point, she really thought the everything was over. It was done. The entire connection was complete. And that maybe she had made it up. Maybe it wasn't real. Maybe it was just an ascension partner, and she was going to go forward on her way. Come to find out, and I remember reading this in her chart, I said, this is going to help him awaken to unconditional love in a way that you couldn't, and neither could the soulmate in this circumstance. He needed to go through this in order to get to that outcome. Fast forward 6 months, I read for her, I guess, in November. She reaches out to me in May, and she says, I just wanted to give you a little update. Um, my twin reached out, and we've been in good communication. What he shared, he came to me and he asked me if I knew what twin flames were. Per your advice, I hadn't told him what twins were. I knew he would come to it on his own after we came to our conversation, after you and I spoke, K Moon. But he came to me and he said there was a coworker at work who kept talking about twin flames. And once he had heard the explanation, he knew that that's what was going on between me and him. And he asked me what I knew about it, and I got to explain and share everything. And he was open. He wasn't pushing me away. He didn't shut the conversation down. And he shared with me how he's, curious about the mission work and what the mission might be, and that he's more committed than ever to making sure that we do what we came to do. And I was just blown away. Because obviously, my guides tell me these kinds of things, but I have no idea how it's going to play out in the 3D world. But that's an example of how this kind of energy can play out. It's like it seems like things are going in a direction that you don't want. But really, what's happening is that honesty that first came forward with my client and her twin, that he was having a child with somebody else and he felt honor bound so that he could be a man that he respected to try and work through this with this woman. That was the first step toward honor and integrity in that relationship between the two of them. And it's out of that integrity that he fulfilled a piece of a soul contract for him, awakened to the connection, and now he's ready to do what needs to be done in order to move forward. It's not going to be an easy path, but we can't get people out of their soul contracts. They are what they're going to be. And so, what our job is to simply fulfill ours in the highest vibration of love that we are capable of. Okay. Um, they can rewrite their own soul contracts, but we can't change that for them. That's not how this goes. So, that being said, any news that you get from your divine counterpart during this period of time, even if you haven't heard from them in years, any information you receive, any new clarity you get, especially in a mutable eclipse cycle where there could be a lot more spiritual merging, mental cognition merging, where you're now feeling your counterpart being intimate with somebody else, witnessing, through psychic insights and awareness and claircognition, where your divine counterpart may be at with someone else. All of this is the beginning of union energies. You cannot merge heart, mind, body, and spirit without having that merging that starts with having that spiritual connection go even further and that psychic connection go even further than where you previously had it. As uncomfortable as it is, and I'm aware, I mean, I've been through a lot of these things myself where I'm like, oh God, did I have to see that? Did I have to feel that? It's the beginning of union energies. So trust that the season you're headed into is the season you're headed into. Do not catastrophize. Do not lose faith. Do not create a negative vibrational timeline because you're freaking out about what you saw, what they told you, what you heard. Count it all union. Okay, so that's thing number one. The second thing that my guides told me to make sure to remind you of is that count it all union. Ascension Partners, right. During this period of time, specifically these 2 years, 2020 and 21, if you have been dealing with an ascension partner and not necessarily a twin, clarity about that is going to start to come forward for you. You're going to start to have the awareness of what is going on in the connection and what kind of connection it is. So take your time with that, relax with that. Try not to force anything or force clarity to come. The circumstances that will create the clarity will arrive, especially in the 2021 season, because in 2021, we have the divine feminine doing retrograde. This year, she went retrograde here in Libra. In 2021, next year, she's going to go retrograde in Sagittarius. And that's going to bring a lot of clarity to her. The same way in 2019, the divine masculine did clarity or did retrograde in Sagittarius. Now she's going to be in Sagittarius for most of next year. And her retrograde there is going to help her break down false faiths and restore real faith, real hope, real optimism, real expansion. And it's going to reveal truth to you in a way that you've not yet seen. So just know that that's coming. And that, if you need any support around, making sure that you can relax about the process, um, and just focus on what you need to be focused on each step of the way, definitely email me and we can set up a personal reading to get you squared away for that. Um, what else? Okay, Revelation of Ascension Partners 2020 and 2021. What was the next thing? Okay, right, Divine Masculine Pieces. Okay, so you may recall that I put out a Divine Masculine's 2020 journey video. If you haven't seen that, definitely want to watch it. It's over on the channel. It's linked underneath just about every video in the description box. The Divine Masculine and Divine Feminine 2020 journey. Quick overview is that my guides gave it to me in a way that I could understand, that was very much like the hero's journey, researched and documented by Joseph Campbell. And so let me just go to the next slide. This really starts with the Divine Masculine being in separated states, but doing so unconsciously, then becoming conscious that he's in a state of separation. The clarity about this is coming in 2020 and 2021. That there's a cognition of, okay, first of all, hang on, where does it come back? Little cursor thing. I have this problem sometimes when I go full screen where I lose my cursor. Okay, so, okay, recognition that he thinks he's just like everybody else. He's not. And he keeps wondering, okay, why is, this low vibrational thing that these other guys get up to, they just seem to kind of get out of it and life is fine. I do a low vibrational thing and life hits me with a 2x4. Well, because you're supposed to be doing a different thing. Then there's a state of conscious separation, a kind of recognition of, I'm different than other men. I don't know why I'm different than other dudes, but I am. And there's, with that, some kind of recognition, some things just aren't really right. I don't know what's not right, but there's almost a sensation of something's wrong with me. And so there's this inner rejection of self. Like, I don't want to be different of other guys. I didn't ask for this. And it's a rejection of that truth. Yeah, you are different than other guys. And there is something that means that you're here to do. There's a bit of a period of anti-wisdom here. Then there's a recognition of their powerlessness to change this destiny and fate, that they are different, they are here to do something new. And it's this 8th point here, this recognition of powerlessness and finding true power, the third way. This 2020, 2021, and 2022, most Divine Masculines will go through this process during this period of time. Okay, and so I go more in depth on this in the Divine Masculines 2020 journey. It's actually more like 21, 22, and 23 as well, but it's during these 3 years where Divine Masculines will go into this place of having them recognize, okay, I can't change that I'm not like other men, that women respond to me differently, that the world responds to me differently than they respond to other men. Okay, when they have that recognition, there is a little bit of a crisis moment that happens there, because they're making the leap from states of separation into states of union. And the union states first must start with union with self. And during this union with self state, you may find your masculine withdraw. And in the withdrawal period, there's kind of this inner commitment that comes forward of recognizing, wow, I really gave myself away. I really kind of let other people use me or abuse me or tried to, I betrayed my own power. I betrayed my own truth. And in the first union with self state, there's a recognition I'm never going to let that happen again. And during that period of time, you will find your masculine becomes more committed to himself than he's ever been. And that's a good sign. During that period of time, he's not going to be available to you the way you might like him to be. The answer is to not freak out. Do not freak out. Do not go crazy. Do not think the whole thing is over. Do not catastrophize. Recognize the signs that he is coming into a place of going, okay, I've got to get more committed to me. And that commitment to himself means that he can't supersede that with the commitment to you, just to be with you, to make you happy. He has to get grounded in himself first. This period of time comes with a leaving of his old self and his old ways behind. You may find that he loses a lot of friends during this time, sells off a business during this time. You may find that he relocates or moves during this time. Um, and this will be a period of time where he step by step finds his faith again in himself, and starts to really discover that light within and act very responsibly with the difference that he is at work with his friends, with his family, with women. You will see he's trying to, quote, be a better man. And he's looking at models of better men, trying to understand, how do I do this? And if he is recognizing that he's not there yet, this will also be a period of time during the Sag Gemini Eclipse Cycle. Remember, mutable energy, change, flexibility. One step back, two steps forward. This will also be a period of time where if he recognizes that he is not vibrating in a way that is a match for you, he will remove himself from you so that he can get what he needs to do to be a match, number one. And number two, so that he doesn't lose himself to yet another female, yet another circumstance where he gave himself away, betrayed himself and his power in order to make somebody else happy. He will separate himself during this period, and it is important to stay in your vibration of faith about what this is and what everything you were shown, everything you were told about it from your own inner guidance, not from a psychic, not from me. This is where it's important to maintain and tame your mind so that your own inner guidance system can navigate you to where you're supposed to be. Because during this period of time, he will be very quiet and a little bit withdrawn as he builds himself, builds his life to be a reflection of that life within, and so that he can come to accept himself as different from other men and accept that, yeah, when he enters the room, things change. When he walks into a family circumstance, things are different. People listen to him differently. This is him starting to understand his impact. And he can't necessarily do that while also bringing you roses and trying to make love to you and making sure you're okay. Da, 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 da. You've got to do that for you to keep your light bright while he is anchoring in his own truth. Okay. And then there's a period of this acceptance that life has to change. He's ending these separation patterns. And after he moves through that union with himself and union with the divine, then he moves into a period of union with the world, where he returns to outward navigation, outward participation, outward what is it, like interaction with the world in order to have his world be a reflection of his divine light within. And this is where you may find he starts to have more interaction with you once he's fully gone through this process and awakened in this way. But like I said, this process can take time to do all of this: change jobs, move. If he has to get a divorce, separate the money, put the money where it has to go, get a new home, set up the new home, make sure the kids are where they need to be school wise and that they're okay. All of these things don't happen in 90 days. They happen in more like 3-year, 4-year increments. And so understanding that we've got this 2-year window of mutable eclipses is going to be really key, because when we move through this process, there are a series of endings that start us off so that we can get to a series of new beginnings starting in 2021 and heading into 2022. But that's only possible if we allow the old cycles to close. And so for some of you, the old cycle that needs to close has to do with an old way of relating with your divine counterpart. And that may mean there's a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 month period where you're not communicating, where it feels like something has died. Because something has. Whatever the old cycle was that had the two of you, dancing one foot in, one foot out, or had, the two of you connected to two other people, or had the two of you, um, just being friends with benefits, despite the fact that there's a huge connection, or had the two of you, not really being vulnerable with one another, just having superficial conversations or talking about what matters. That cycle has to close, and that closing may come with a period of silence. That's not a bad thing. Honor the silence. When the rebirth happens, you'll be in a different place, they will be in a different place, and it will give you both the opportunity to dance in new ways. Okay? Whew, okay, so I think those were all of the messages. Revelation of Ascension Partner. What was the first one that I said? I forget, but Divine Feminine goes retrograde. I remember we talked about that. Revelation of Truth for her next year. That the season is going to be mutable, so it'll feel like one step back, 2 steps forward. Count it all as union. And then Divine Masculine moving through an awakening period at this time, as these are masculine eclipse seasons. And these masculine eclipse seasons are specifically going to help align him to where he needs to be. So if you're kind of, curious about, well, is this an Ascension Partner? And if it is, what do I do? And will they ascend? And can we be together? Watch the Ascension Partner video again. Watch it fully and then listen to the Q&A. That 90-minute Q&A answers a lot of questions about what will happen if what you're dealing with is an Ascension Partner. If you end up emailing me and asking me a question that I know I answered in the video, I probably won't email you back, only because my inbox can get kind of full. And one of the things that I'm learning to practice is everything doesn't need a response. And so it's not because I'm ignoring you, it's just because I've answered that and the answer is over there. So definitely look at that. So that, if you need clarity about what the Ascension Partner situation is, you'll get it from that video. Okay? And in the meantime, if you'd like to do a personal reading so that you are, fully ready and doing your work and in the place you need to be, definitely email me, because divine partnerships are coming in. in the years between now and 2025, with some of the biggest divine unions coming together in 2023, 2021, 23, and 25, actually, 24 as well. So, all of this, 2020 and 2021, are highly preparatory periods of time. And if you know you want to make sure you're doing the things you need to do to be ready, then we should do a personal reading. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to staying connected on YouTube. Take great care. Bye for now.